we doing, folks? That's right, it is me, Gamer Mike C, and welcome to today's video. That's right, today we are going to be diving into the settings for the Master Controller. That's right, the MC Command Center by Deaderpool. We're going to go through step by step each one of the settings here. It's going to be a series of videos as we're going to cover each section in each video. Today we will be going through the MC settings, which is the first thing that you will see. So after you get the mod installed into your game, the link for the mod will be included below in the description. So once you get everything up and running, we will jump into it right here. You click on a computer or click on a sim and go to MC Command Center. Now once you are in the MC Command Center, for today's video, we are going to be doing the MCC settings. Now here, the MC Command Center module is necessary to link all the other modules together. So first thing we see here is autosave. Everybody loves a good autosave. So we are going to go into autosave, and you have autosave name. You can name your autosaves whatever your file name is, so you make sure that they stay the same. You can change the slot numbers. Save interval amount. That is when you want to make your saves. I do my autosaves every hour on the hour. That is the real-time hour, not Sims time hour. So you'll see here that my default value is 1 already. You can set it from 1 to 24 if you don't want to save that often. I like to save every hour, so we're going to leave that at 1. And then we'll come down here to use autosave. Now it is set to default, which is it is disabled. So we are going to enable our autosave function just by clicking enable. Now autosaves are enabled. I always like to go back in, make sure it's clicked, and that's that. Your autosaves are now done. This is the save interval type. As you see here, it is a real world hour. You can change that to save every sim day or every sim hour as you would like, and an autosave will happen prior to midnight each sim day if you want to set it up that way. I like to do a real world hour because who knows what I got done within that time frame, and nobody likes a crash when you haven't been able to save once you've been doing something. So that is the autosaves right there in a nutshell. So you click on autosave, enable them, and then basically click on the time frame that you want your saves to be completed in. Next thing we'll go to is our gameplay settings. Now here you can do a few different things here. Adopt neglected child. I like to enable this. If enabled, when it is determined that a baby, toddler, or child is neglected, they will be adopted by an NPC household in the world rather than taken away by social services. I like this one because it keeps them in the world, and it's better than just throwing them out there into the Neververse of social services. Adopt no caregiver. I leave this one enabled. If enabled, when all the caregiver sims have died in the household, any sim young enough to require a caregiver will be automatically adopted rather than deleted. It's another good setting because God forbid something happens, you want to make sure that you don't lose everybody. You might not want to lose that child, and then that child's just deleted. So we are going to enable the adopt no caregiver. Character values by difficulty adjustment. I do not change those. You can read what those are there. Fame difficulty adjustment. I do not change either. Game time speed. I do not change. The default is 25. I leave it at 25. Now the number of real-time milliseconds for every sim second. The default is 25, so basically it's 25 milliseconds for every sim second. You can make that more or less, make your day go faster, make your day go slower by changing the values, which is a minimum value of 1 and a maximum value of 1,000. I leave it at 25. I think that's a good enough I like the speed of my game, basically. So if you don't like the speed of your game, that is where you can go to change that. And keep going down. Maximum household size with all the packs with, the pets. And now you've got horse ranch and all these different pets you can have. This is where you can come in and change your maximum household size so that you can have a large family and still have pets. Because there's nothing worse than having a cat, dog, and a horse, and now you can only have 5 people in your house because those 3 pets are taking up slots. So here's where you can go in here and you can change it. You can have 104 people in the household, people, okay? So you can have as many as you like. Go in here, change that number. I leave the default at 8. I don't think I'll ever have more than 8 in a household. And if by chance I should, this is where I would go to change that setting. Maximum rename length, basically in The Sims, 14 characters, first name and last name. If you want to change that, you can change it here. Do keep in mind that if you do change it, your character will get errors in CAS if the sim is not modified. If it is modified and saved. I don't mess with those kind of things. That one's good for me. I don't really need to be naming anybody more than 14 characters anyway. Motive decay. Okay, now this one here, you'll see there's a motive decay for all the different aspects of the game. You've got cats, dogs, fame, horse, sim, vampire, and on the top, baby. Now, some of you will know why baby is included in sim. If you don't know, babies are basically treated as objects in the game, so they don't count as a sim. So I only change my sim motive decay percentage, and I changed that the maximum value is 0. The minimum value is 0. Sorry, the maximum value is 500. The default value is 100. So 100 is normal. 0 is no motive decay. 200 would be double motive decay. Well, I believe that in our human form, our motives don't decay all that fast. Like, you can last for a little while without using the restroom or without eating. We can all go a day without sleeping legitimately if we had to. So I knock that down. I take 25% off of it and I make that number 75. So my motive decay is a little bit slower, which I believe it to be a little bit more realistic. You can tweak that number as you like and, make it so however it is that you like your motives to decay. I'm not one that likes to shut them off because if you're going to be doing any kind of real gameplay, you have to sleep, eat, use the facilities, etc., etc. So I just changed that number to 75. As I said, you can make that number whatever you'd like, but this is where you would change that so that your motives decay at a slower rate. Excuse me, gotta hydrate real quick here. And you also have the baby motive decay, which is set at the default level. I leave the baby at a default level because I feel that the baby motives do decay faster than an adult's or, even a child or a toddler. The baby's motives are going to decay faster, so I leave that one at 100. As far as the pets and the horses and the vampires and the occult stuff, the only real occult is a vampire. I leave all those at whatever the default is. If you want your animals to live longer, not live longer, my apologies. If you want them to go longer between having to use the litter box and things of that nature, this is where you would go to change that. So with that being said, we will now jump on down. Pause on zone. I disable this. This basically means that every time you go into a new zone, your game is paused, and it annoys me because I forget to unpause it, and I'm like, why isn't anybody moving? So I leave that one disabled. Sims are immortal. You don't want your Sims to die. Here's where you go. Click on enable, and your Sims will not die. They will be immortal. I don't play that way. That's on you if you like it. Sims die on lot. If this is enabled, when Sims are killed with the kill sim command, the Reaper will only show up if they are on the lot. If they are wandering the streets, they will just turn into ghosts. So I leave that one enabled as well because I want my sim to die on a lot with the Grim Reaper and all the fanfare that you get from it. Skill settings. This is another fun one here. You can set your difficulty skill adjustment, okay? So change skill progression to be slower or faster. Valid settings are from -50 to 10 with a default of 0. Negative is slower progress, positive is faster progress. Every negative point is minus 10%. So negative 10% is 100% slower, negative 20% is 200% slower, etc. Positives are exactly the opposites. They're 100% per point. So if you had a 2, it would be 200 times faster, and if you had a 10, it would be 1,000 times faster. Now this is up to you if you want to change your skill difficulty adjustment, basically meaning you learn things either faster or slower. I don't know. I'm pretty satisfied with the way that the default does it at this point in time as far as the skills are concerned. I haven't had any real issues with that. So I'm going to leave that at the default level. Naturally, you can change that to whatever level you would like, and that will just adjust how quickly or slowly you gain your skill. You can do skill difficulty exclude list. Now this list right here, this list is going to determine what skills will be excluded when the skill difficulty adjustment setting is used. The default is for all skills, but if skills are specified in this setting, then all skills except the ones in this list will be adjusted by the difficulty amount. Now to break that down for you, if you want to be able to get acting skills faster than gardening skills, you would put acting in the exclude list. Sorry, you would not include acting in the exclude list. Basically meaning that your acting skills will be based upon your skill difficulty level that you set up in the last screen. If you don't include it, then they're all at your default level. I don't like to mess with it. You know, some people say, oh, well, I do this, so I want this one to go faster and this one to go slower. I just leave my skills the same. My brain works the same way for everything. I learn it at the same speed. Skill freeze progression list. You can freeze progression on a skill. These skills on a list will not progress through activity for any sim. They will stay at the current level until the setting is changed or until they are cheated to a different value. I don't mess with that one either. So basically, the only one that you would mess with in here is the skill difficulty adjustment. Now we'll move on to teleport sims overlap. If this setting is enabled, when teleporting a sim into another sim's location, they will teleport directly on top of the other sim. If disabled, they will teleport to the side of the other sim. Note, checkmark is selected option. Now, I leave this enabled. The reason I do is because when I teleport using my sim teleporter for my poses, I want that sim to teleport on top of the other sim if I'm doing a multiple sim photo shoot. So I leave this enabled. I personally think it's a good idea to leave this one enabled. Doesn't matter. You're going to either teleport on top of them or next to them. Choice is yours. This is where you would make it. And my favorite, use random aging. Leave that one enabled as well. When enabled, new sims generated by the Sims 4 do not start at 0 days into the current age span. This was a feature added by EA for Get Famous. I leave this enabled as well because I want my sims to be all different ages. Okay, now that is basically the gameplay settings in a nutshell right there. So now we're going to move on to the next thing in the MCC settings, which are the money settings. Now in the money settings, you have different options here. We're going to go through each one. Allow child pay bills. If you want your child to be able to pay the bills if you're busy, you can enable it here and the child will be allowed to pay bills or discard the bills. Children can't pay bills. I leave that one off. Apartment bill percent is a new one. Setting this percent will increase or decrease the weekly bill amount. The default is 0, which is the standard billing amount. Minus 100 would be no bills. 100 would be double bills. I leave it at the default. I don't mess with it. I like it the way it is. Auto pay bills, if enabled, when bills are generated, they are automatically paid if your funds are available. I enable that. I like to auto pay bills so I don't forget, and the land grabs don't shut my power off. Change bill percentage. Setting this percentage will increase or decrease the weekly bill amount. The default is 0, which is standard. 100 would minus 100 would be no bills. 100 would be double bills. Once again, I don't mess with those percentages. Child support percent, I leave it at 1. The reason I leave it at 1 is because I paid child support in Sims 4 before, and even at 1, it's drastic. So I just leave that one alone at 1%. I think that's plenty to pay for it. It works out well. The inheritance sim type. Now, when a sim dies, this setting determines whether or not they leave any of their household funds to their spouse or their children, depending on the type of sim that is dying. So, as you can see, the default is none. Inheritance never applies. Okay? You have active only. Inheritance only applies when an active sim dies. All. Inheritance applies to any sim that dies. And NPC only. I like to do all. So we're going to set that one there to all. Inheritance sim type, right? All, okay. Inheritance always applies to any sim that dies. If they die, they should leave something back behind for those who they love. Now we are going to inheritance spouse first. This one here, if enabled, when a sim dies, if they have a spouse, then that spouse will receive the inheritance rather than the children. If they don't have a spouse, it'll go to the children, but we are going to do spouse first. And pay child support, I like to do unmarried only. If you're married, you don't get child support anymore. I don't like to do all because that means if they're single, they're married, whatever. Unmarried only, you will get child support. And that is our money settings in a nutshell. Moving on down the line, we have notifications, console, and menu settings. So, this one here is a bunch of things in here that we're going to go through. Change sim menu order. I don't bother with the changing the sim menu order. I've been playing it so long, the sim menu is where it is, and I know where things are. Console command settings is one of my favorites. This is where we can get interesting and make our lives a little bit easier. Here we got our build buy settings. Here we can go buy debug enabled. Yes. Now if this is enabled, the buy debug cheat, bb.show hidden objects cheat, will always be enabled. You never have to type that in again. So I like to have that enabled. Free build enabled. I have it disabled. I do not like free build. If I'm building, I want to pay for it. Ignore unlocks. I enable it because half of the things that are locked I don't use anyway. But if it's there, I want to be able to use it. And if I'm not going to be a scientist, I don't think I should be penalized and not be able to use the best microscope or what have you because I didn't choose that career. I still want to be able to purchase that product because I can afford it. Increase rental cap enabled. If enabled, the increase rental cap cheat, bb.increase rental unit cap, will always be enabled upon loading the game. I leave that one disabled. Move objects enabled. We all know what move objects are, bb.move objects. With this enabled, it is always on. You will still get that pop-up that says this was made with bb.move objects. Please make sure it's on. It is always enabled. And the show live enabled. I leave this one disabled as well. It always automatically runs for this setting to work correctly, so I leave it off. Then we'll go into next is the debug command in cheats. When this is enabled, debug commands will be available along with cheats when testing cheats are enabled. So basically, it's going to put what you would type in to a Control-Shift-C situation. It's going to put it into a menu so that you don't have to do these things. So I leave that enabled. Enable full edit CAS. Yes, I like to be able to do full edits in my CAS, so I leave that enabled. Headline effects. Now, if disabled, the headline effects, such as your plumb bob, will always be hidden upon loading the game. I like my plumb bob, it helps me find people. Now, sometimes if you do photography or if you like to use pose packs, you might want to go in. This is where you would go, disable that, and it would get rid of the plumb bob over your head for your poses, so that you don't have it in your pictures. That's about the only time I would disable the headline effects. And then we've got the hover effects. If disabled, the hover effects such as the white outline around sims and objects will always be hidden. I want to know when I'm hovering over something that it's what I want to be hovering over, so naturally that one stays enabled as well. And the last one in the console command settings is testing cheats. And we will leave testing cheats enabled. All that means is that testing cheats is always on. You do not have to Control Shift C and put testing cheats on. So those are our console command settings. Our logging settings, I do not mess with any of the logging settings at all. Notification settings, this is a personal choice here. As you can see, aging and death notifications. You can get age up notifications, and it's going to ask you, do you want to get age up notifications for played sims, related to active household, active friends, active romance, or all of them. So if you want to know every time a sim ages up, you can click all, and that's going to tell you what you want to know. I don't really care that much about the age up stuff if they're not in my house. I don't, it's not a big deal to me. Show death notifications, okay, if you want to know every time a sim dies and get a notification for it. Or naturally, you can set that up as well the same way. Played sims, related to active household, active friends, so on and so forth. Birthday notifications, it's the same. You can hit enable. It's going to tell you when your non-played sims are going to have birthdays. And show pet death notifications are also going to be the same way as the sim notifications. I'm not into notifications. I get enough stuff on my screen as it is. But here is where you're going to go and set up those notifications if you want to know these things. And as you can see, there's other items, the MC population, show empty houses, show moving notifications. Don't need to know every time somebody moves. Pregnancy is the same thing. This is show birth, show marriage, affairs. What do you want to know? Here's where you're going to go and say, okay, I want to know, show a notification post when a sim has an affair and a pregnancy occurs. Now, are you Gossip Girl? Because if you're a Gossip Girl, this is the one you're going to want to hit all, so you're going to know every time a cheating sim gets knocked up. That's how you find out this stuff, folks. I'm telling you. The gossip tree, it rolls right through here. Right through your notifications, okay? So here's where you're going to see relationship changes. You can find out, whenever a sim's relationship changes. I don't want to know all that stuff right now. Future gameplays, I might, but the way I play right now, it's not that big of a deal to me. I do know people who play that would love that stuff because they play multiple households in a town. I tend to play one character in a household. And then by the time my character gets to be like married and kids and stuff, I sort of start a new game. It seems to happen. But I'm trying to get better at it. That's right. I'm trying to play more characters all the way through to a couple of generations at least. And then show notifications here. I have them enabled because I do get other notifications that I need to know. But this basically is where you can set up notifications to find out everything you want to know about your Sims neighborhood stories. Okay, it's another one that you're going to want to look at. Show adoption types. It's going to let you know who adopted who, and items of that nature. So that's where you'll go in your notification settings to do that. Next up, we have phone texts. And I just basically have it for all text. That's the one thing. All right, it's my phone. It's just like real life. Text me. Let me know what's going on. So I get all my text through my phone. Festival text, everything else. You can change that so that you don't get the festival text and so on and so forth, but I like them. So menu settings is next. And here you can bypass specific menus if you don't want to see the relationship menu, sim commands. If you don't want any of these that you don't want to see in your menu, you can get rid of. I don't touch that. Basically, don't touch any of the menus because then it's just going to mess me up because I'm so used to the way that the game is played and where the menu items are. Okay, so that is our notification console and menu settings. Now we're going to get into our relationship settings. Here's where we can make, this is like I said, the MC Command Center. It's all about story progression driven gameplay. Okay, folks. So allow teen parenting. This is 2024. So teen parenting, yes, I already have it enabled. This is where you can disable it. If you don't want your teen sims to get pregnant, you can disable it. If you live in the real world, then you will enable it. What can I tell you? Teen parenting goes on. So as far as playing in a realistic game, I think it should be on. Auto relationship settings. Okay, now here's where you can get into the nitty gritty of how these sims are going to interact with each other. Breakup settings, break up, move out sim. I don't know, I guess I'm a gentlemanly kind of fellow. I always move out the male sim. You can choose to move out the female sim or to move out a random sim. I have mine set to move out the male sim for my gameplay, but you can set that one up however you would like to. Couple relationship change percentage. Okay. The percentage chance applied to each modifier that may make a boyfriend or girlfriend's coupled relationship increase or decrease over time. A zero value means that relationship changes are disabled. We do not like zero value because we don't like relationship change. We need relationship changes. Don't you agree? So we're going to go and set that at 15%. Okay? That's where we're going to go with that, so that this way we do have some kind of relationship changes over time. Okay, breakup relationship, move children with breakup. Now this specifies whether a sim should take their children with them when they move out due to a breakup. If the percent chance, my apologies, the children will move, so it can be set to 0 for never, 100 for always, or something in between for a random chance. Okay, so basically this is saying if there are children involved and there's a breakup, what are the chances that they are going to move? I set this at 25%. I believe there's a 25% chance that they are going to move with the person who's moving out. I can talk from experience. When I had a breakup and moved out, my son did move with me. So I'm part of that 25%. So I believe there should be some type of chance that that child's going to move with the breakup. Spouse relationship change percent. Now this percent chance applies to each modifier that may make spouses' relationships increase or decrease over time. So I am going to do 10 on the spouse because they're married, they're not boyfriend and girlfriend, so I think that relationship change is going to be less. So that's my own way of doing it. You can set it up however you like, but that's where we set that up. So there's our breakup settings. Now, bypass ancestral households. When checking for sims moving in and out of homes due to relationship changes, bypass any sims living in ancestral households. I leave that disabled. I think that could just add to the drama of the game as far as moving into somebody else's ancestral household. Bypass played households. Okay. Now, when checking for sims with relationship changes causing them to move in together or move out from breakups, bypass any played household rather than just the current active household. I have that enabled because I want to bypass the household I'm playing in and let it go on to do the NPC households, not my household. And your move-in settings, allow homeless romance move-in. Now, basically specifies whether or not homeless Sims can move in with lot Sims or with each other due to romance levels. I enabled that one because, hey, if you fall in love, even if he's homeless, let him move in with you. He won't be homeless anymore. How could you love somebody and leave him out in the street anyway? Move in ages. Young adult, adult, and elder specifies the ages that Sims must be to move in together. If their romance levels are high enough, one or more ages may be chosen. So, how do you feel? Now, I am going to add teens to that list of move in ages. And the reason I'm going to be doing that is my teens can get pregnant. So, if they're old enough to get pregnant, they possibly are old enough to live on their own. Some Sims may not have a choice but to live on their own, depending on what their parents do when they find out that they're pregnant. Excuse me. Ooh. Okay, so, and if you see here, up in the top corner, I know it's a little dark because I'm in my settings, but movement ages was changed. Some of these settings you do have to restart your game before they will take effect. Keep that one in mind. Okay, so now that's our auto relationship settings right there. Now, friendship decay percentage. This is the percentage of decay from friends not interacting with each other. We all have friends that we do not interact with, and we are still friends. We might not, like I said, talk every day anymore, but if that person would have called and picked up the phone right now, it would be like nothing ever happened. So this one here, 100% is the default, 0% is no decay. Higher than 100% is faster decay. So I changed that number to 75. Because yes, there is some decay, okay, but it shouldn't be, you have to be in this person's face all the time to keep their friendship. So I changed that number to 75. I can honestly say I don't think I have a lot of friends falling off or non-contact and things of that nature. So I think that's a good number. You can experiment with it however you would like, but I changed that to 75. Friendship difficulty adjust, I leave this normal. This just basically sets how hard it is to make friends. I leave that one on the default. Relationship culling, I leave that with the EA relationship culling. Basically, relationship culling follows the default EA rules and deletes relationships accordingly. I don't want to mess with it because I don't fully get it all the time. So I let that happen on its own. Romance difficulty adjustment. I do not make it any harder or easier for the Sims to have romantic relationships than the game already makes it. But if you want to do that, folks, this is where you would do it yourself. Romance difficulty adjustment. You can change it. You can have them romance build up faster, build up slower, however you'd like. I like it the way it is now. Okay, and then the romantic decay percentage I set at 80. Basically saying, hey, that romance will start to decay. I feel that romance decays faster than friendship. So that's why that number is a little bit higher than the friendship decay was. But if you do what you're supposed to be doing in the romantic side of things, because if you're romantic with somebody, you should be seeing them more than you see some friends. So it should be easier to keep that from decaying as fast. So I set that number to 80. And that's basically your relationship settings in a nutshell. Now we're going to move on to our last item in the MCCC settings menu, and that is age, span, duration. Now this is where you make your Sims live a nice, long, healthy life. And I do change these numbers. So we're going to jump into the humans. I do play with a long lifespan. I like to play my Sims for a long time. I was never one that liked to play a game and have it be over in a week because my Sim went from teen to young adult to elder and boom, he's dead. I want to play a long lifespan. So, you go into your long lifespan, short lifespan, medium lifespan, whatever your gameplay is, play it. But this is where you're going to have fun with those numbers. So let's go down here. Let's start with baby. The default value for a baby is 4. 4, I believe, is, sorry, the default number of days is 4. The default value is 0. So I leave the babies at 4 days. That's fine. You can change that. You can have them be a baby for 2 days, however you like. I leave it at 4. It works for me. Now the sorry, I clicked on baby again. The infants. Okay, now infants. I do change the infant is 20 days. I change that to 40 because they're infants and they should be infants for a while. It shouldn't be, because you got to remember something too, folks. As I said, I am changing the age span duration of all of the life stages. So naturally, changing life stages as teens, adults, and elders, you got to change the lifespan of the children and the toddlers and the young adults. Everybody's got to change. So we're going to go to 40 for our age span duration on the infants. Toddlers, we go to 50. And I just do a little bit more. 10 sim days is quite a long time. So we'll go to 50 right there. Now the default is 28. So I'm adding time to EA's time. So basically, it's just adding more gameplay time for me with those same characters before they start aging up. And that's part of the enjoyment that I have, is playing with the same people for a little while before all of a sudden everything changes on you. Okay, we did toddler. Now we go to child. Child, we do 75 days. Their default is 56. So once again, I'm only a little bit away from the default, just another couple of weeks. Makes my gameplay more enjoyable. And remember, folks, you can also go in there and you could set it for a lower number if you'd like. Okay, the default is what it is, but you can have however you can. I don't like to play with immortal sims, but you can have them live to be 100. That's on you. All right, now we're going to go child, right? Teens, okay. Teens, I have set at 75. I had set at 75, but I didn't move my toddler, so I'm going to change my teen to 100 days. 84 is the default, so it's just a little bit longer once again. Okay, young adult, default is 112. I had that set at 150. Okay, I'm going to leave that set right there. And then adult, I believe I have it 125. Because I don't know, young adult. I don't know which one should be more. I guess in the adult phase it should be. So we're going to go with 175, which is just a little bit more than the default to 168. And then we jump into elders. Elder, I have it 75, and the default is 56. So once again, we're close to it. So just to run through one more time so you can get a look-see here. Elders have 75 days. Young adults are 150. Teens are 100. Oh, wait, I skipped adult. Adults are 175. Young adults are 150. Teens are 100. Children are 75. Toddlers are 50. Infants are 40. And babies are 4. So I'm going to change that one to 3 just to make a change. Okay, boom. So now I just set all of my age span durations, and that's going to reflect when I restart the game. Naturally, like I said, you could do short, normal, long, however you like. I have mine set that way. And that's how I like to have my gameplay. So you can set yours up how you like. So that is basically, as far as the master, more or less, MCC settings, before we break down into specific categories. This is where you do those settings. So that's our MCC settings in our MC Command Center. In our next video, we will cover possibly the MC Cast as well as MC Career, because I don't think there's a lot in each one of those. I'm trying to keep the videos not too long. Like I said, it is going to be a series as we're going to go through and do every one of the single sections as well, and everything that's included in those sections. And we're going to adjust those numbers as well to get our gameplay to be exactly the way that we like to play The Sims 4. Once again, The MC Command Center is a must-have for any Sims 4 player. It just helps to add story progression, reality. I love it. I hope you do too. Like I says, the link for the Command Center will be included in the description below. Make sure that you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when our next video does pop out. Don't forget to like the video as well. Tell your friends about it. Send them over. We're going to teach them about the MC Command Center. Hopefully we taught you something today. If not, tune in next time. Maybe we'll teach you something then. But until then, folks, my name is Gamer Mike C. Have a blessed day. Till next time. See ya.